Finally, a good update. Hey guys, this is Julez with True Crime Reactions. For those of you who are newer to my channel and showed up during the Idaho 4 case, I have also been discussing the missing case of Dylan Rounds. He is a 19-year-old who went missing out of Lucin, Utah. We have been waiting months for something, and as at this point, they still have not found Dylan Rounds' body. But as of last night, we finally have a murder charge. For those of you who don't know this story and need to catch up prior to this, I do have 2 previous videos that lay out all of the details. And honestly, as much information as there has been for how strange this case is, there's always been a lot of doubt about what actually happened. There's been a lot of crazy conspiracy theories. There's been a lot of really just rude people out here trying to start a bunch of rumors to mess up the family and cause a bunch of drama in this case that just wasn't needed. But the family finally has some answers. Now, the news broke yesterday that the charges for murder and desecration of a body were officially being charged to James Brenner. James Brenner has been the prime suspect, and what the cops say the only suspect, but I'm not sure. In my brain, I believe he's the only suspect, or at least not the only one involved in what happened to Dylan. But right now, as of 45 minutes ago of the time of this recording at 10:30 in the morning on Saturday, the news station in Idaho called East Idaho News released the court documents. So that's what we're going to go over here now. So it starts off with the state of Utah versus James Brenner, and it gives his address. The undersigned prosecuting attorney states on information and belief that the above-named defendant in Box Elder County, state of Utah, committed the following crimes: aggravated murder, a first-degree felony. That on or about May 28th of 2022, the defendant did intentionally or knowingly cause the death of another. And then there's a whole bunch of jargon, but that's okay. Basically, yes, we've got the first-degree felony murder charge. Count 2. Abuse or desecration of a human body, a third-degree felony. Now it states, this information is based on evidence obtained from Detective Zachary Richard Moore. And this is dated just yesterday on March the 3rd. This states, factual basis, probable cause statement. We love these, right? The 19-year-old victim was reported as a missing person on or about May 30th of 2022. Sheriff deputies, along with search and rescue crews, immediately got to work on efforts to locate the victim, but were unsuccessful. During the search, deputies discovered a pair of boots belonging to the victim nearby. One boot had a blood stain that DNA analysis confirmed belonged to the victim, in addition to DNA belonging to the defendant. So both James Brenner and Dylan's DNA was found on the boots of Dylan's that were found kind of just discarded by that dirt mound. The victim's phone records were also obtained, which showed movements on the day of his disappearance on a remote property in Lucin where defendant was squatting. See, I always had questions about this whole squatting thing because as far as I knew, from all the information we had obtained, the owner of the property was one person. All the names are in my previous videos. The owner was one person, and the owner was leasing it to another person. Well, the person that the owner was leasing the property to gave James Brenner permission to be there. He even had a key to the gate. So I don't know when the whole squatting thing actually became the situation, because from what it was told in the beginning, and even the way that Dylan's mom, whenever she was asked about squatters and stuff like that, James Brenner wasn't one that was the concern, and he was not being described as a squatter. He was like a land hand, in my opinion. But obviously that could have changed, and he just never left, and maybe was giving the guy issues leaving, and that's where the whole squatting thing came from. But not only had James Brenner done some work for Dylan, but had known Dylan for a while. But like I said, he even had a key to the gate to the property where all this happened. So I don't know where the squatting thing. Anyway, Phone data shows that the last signal from the victim's phone was at the Lucin Pond, and a search of the pond led to the discovery of the victim's phone. A digital forensic download of the phone was conducted and led to the discovery of a time-lapse video with a timestamp taken at the time of the victim's disappearance. The video shows defendant, James Brenner, with blood stains on his arms and shirt as he is cleaning a gun. The shirt which defendant is wearing in the video was analyzed and the victim's DNA was found on the shirt. Defendant was interviewed and made several claims that corroborated forensic evidence in addition to making numerous demonstrably false statements. Demonstrably. I have a pretty big vocabulary, guys. I've never heard of that one. I might have to start using it. Despite a thorough investigation and extensive search, the victim's body was not recovered due to defendant removing and concealing it. So even now that he's basically corroborating what the forensic evidence is stating, he's still not giving them the body's location. That's jacked up. Now the next page should have a date and time for court for these charges, and it's blank, which is interesting. I don't know. You are hereby ordered, if you have not already been booked into jail on these charges, to call box elder, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, they've had him. He's been in custody for months on, I think, gun charges. Some sort of stipulation that he had that he couldn't own any guns. Now, it is weird that there's no date on this, but I'm sure that it'll come out later. Is there anything else on here? Okay, now this is just like... Okay, charge 1, aggravated murder, offense date, May 28th. Location, Box Elder County. Mandatory appearance. Maybe they're not putting a date on there because he's already in custody, but it's kind of strange there's no court date. Like, there's no court date being listed at all. Charge 2, defense date. Okay. Assigned judge, Brandon Maynard. See, I've heard that name about Utah before. Defendant, James Brenner. Plaintiff, State of Utah, represented by Blair Wardle. Yeah. Proceedings. 3-3. Everything was filed. The judge was assigned. That's it. That's it. There's nothing further. There's no date for court on here. Maybe that's going to come out later, but it's a little strange. Obviously, there's a lot more that's going to come out from this story now. And I do feel like the family most likely does have a sense of relief at this point. But in the last couple of interviews, I've been following this for a while. I was going to do an update about a week ago because Candace went on No Thanks and on East Idaho News, and she did an update. It was, I think, towards the beginning of February. And she had stated that Box Elder had gotten a hold of the family and that they were told that there was new evidence that was found, but the family wasn't told what it was. And that they were supposed to be having some sort of meeting around February 17th. But then February 17th came and went, and once again, there was no press conference, there was no nothing. And even now at this time, there's no press conference still. There has not been a single press conference for the case of Dylan Rounds, which is insane to me. Maybe once they actually find him, once Brenner actually, if Brenner ever does, tell us, tell them, tell the world, tell the family, tell the cops where Dylan's body is, then maybe we'll get a press conference out of Box Elder, but probably not. Something just tells me probably not. But I do question the other guy. And I cannot even think of his name right now. I can't even think of his name right now. Hold on, let me look the name up so I don't sound like an idiot. Don. The guy, Don Hadley, I believe was the last name, that used to work with Dylan, was friends with James Brenner. And the reason why I feel like Don definitely knows more, and I believe that he probably was maybe involved, and again, this is just my opinion because of what we were told. When Grandma called Don after not hearing from Dylan, the story doesn't make sense to me because Don claims that him and James Brenner both went out to Dylan's RV and that the truck and everything was there, but Dylan wasn't there. And instead of calling Grandma back when they saw that, they didn't actually get back to her until the next day. And that's whenever she was told, yeah, we went out there, he wasn't there, but his truck was there, something like that. Well, then Don Hadley is also the person that James Brenner let hold all of his guns. And all of that was found out later because Hadley had to, like, give the cops that information. And apparently James Brenner had, like, brought all of them over to him, and Hadley had no clue why. No, there's just no way. If James Brenner and Don Hadley were together the entire time, which it seems like they were, then Hadley knows more. I don't care what anyone tries to say. Don knows more about what happened to Dylan. That's my opinion. Because not only was he part of James Brenner's alibi, remember, for those of you who have been following along with this from the beginning, this was like Memorial Day weekend, right? And they, meaning Don and James Brenner, had like a barbecue or something together when it was pouring down rain. And that was James Brenner's like whole motive, not motive, but like his alibi situation was that he didn't see Dylan at all that morning, and he then left to go to Don Hadley's for a barbecue. Okay, well then, I question who took the video. Because if there's a video on Dylan's phone, and there's blood all over James Brenner as he's cleaning a gun covered in blood, obviously at the point of this video being captured, Dylan is most likely already dead. So who the hell shot this video on Dylan's phone of a bloody James Brenner cleaning a gun? Don Hadley was the only other person that was around James Brenner at the time of this incident. Just makes you wonder. So I know that Dylan had an iPhone. I don't know crap about iPhones. I'm team Android. My mom hands me her iPhone and I have like a panic attack. I don't know how to do anything on that thing. So I looked it up on Google. What is time-lapse on iPhone? Now this is a setting you can go to in the phone. And it's another question, which is interesting because I'm actually glad it like popped up those little like additional questions. How long is a 1 minute time lapse on an iPhone? Every 6 seconds of recording will result in 1 second of time lapse footage. So if you record for 60 seconds, you'll end up with a 10-second time lapse video. I'm wondering if that's what this was. So again, did James Brenner, for some maybe drug-related reason, because we know that hard drugs are a big bad situation out there, and his drug brain could have told him this was a good idea? Did James Brenner go into this iPhone and click the settings for time-lapse, set it up somewhere, and record himself covered in blood cleaning a gun? Or did somebody else do it? I mean, that's... yeah. But that is all of the updates on this case for now. There is obviously going to be a lot more details to come out of this. And I know that the family, like I mentioned, is probably feeling some sort of relief knowing that now there is a person named who is responsible for taking their son away from them. But until they have been able to bury him, the family has still not even been able to completely comprehend what is happening. I watched an interview about a week and a half ago of Candace and Dylan's dad, Justin, and it's like that for the entire family, even Dylan's siblings. They're kind of just going on with the day-to-day because until they're able to bury him and say goodbye and grieve, this still doesn't feel real to them. And it's been over 9 months. That's horrible. But that looks like it's the updates for now. Hopefully, James Brenner does the right thing and tells them where Dylan's body is so that this family can finally get some peace. See y'all.